If you're currently considering or looking into hiring overseas talent, virtual assistants, overseas employees, whatever it is, in this video, I want to talk about setting expectations both for yourself and the new hires that you're about to bring onto your team to hopefully drive more success. So if that's of interest, stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about. And then the other thing I would say is that this is probably my biggest, and I've had another conversation with some friends about this topic. I would say keep in mind that when you'll hear certain people like Natalie and I that are big fans of like everybody needs a VA, hire a VA, it's going to change your life. The thing to keep in mind though is that this is not like a magic black box that you just like put some coins in and then your life is better. Like it's literally like hiring an employee in America, in your town, across virtually in America. Like it would be crazy for the way I would describe this is, if you're an employer that has hired many employees, I would be willing to bet that you have hired some not so great employees. And it would be just as ludicrous if someone came to you and said like, oh, I tried hiring employees once. I had a really bad one and it just doesn't work for me.
Now.
It's just like, so now we're lumping in every single employee that you could potentially hire is now bad because your first 3 experiences or whatever didn't work out. I would say, honestly, generally that would point back to what does the hiring process look like? Do you have a process? What does the employee situation look like? Do they have a manager? Did you provide clear feedback when they failed to do what you wanted? What was how did you provide the feedback? Did you provide check-ins or did you ask them what they wanted to do? I don't know if you have anything else to add on that, but that's huge.
Yeah, just that if you have hired employees locally and you've had 3 bad hires, that's probably a bad hiring process. And so it's the same exact thing where if you're striking out, I could look at any one of our employees have left and I'm like, there was something we could have done to make that. And we've done this work now to identify our values, our standards, our expectations, and hire and fire towards those things. And so treat this in the exact same way that you're hiring and firing based on your values, standards, and expectations. And if you don't have those set, that's a good thing to look at because it's going to be the thing that gets under your skin when you're like, why is this person not a self-starter? And then you're like, oh, I didn't realize I value that a lot. I should probably ask about that in an interview.
And I would say we're going to dive into the how to hire, but after you select the person, I would say something that I learned from past jobs. One company in particular I worked at, they had this process called, they had the green book that they would provide a new hire. And it laid out what are the 30, 60, 90-day goals for this position. And to me, again, it's like now that I've been in a role where that did exist, I could never imagine hiring someone without that because everybody gets into a job and they're like,
we have done, by the way, we've hired without it. And then we're like, well, shoot,
yeah, let's go back to the green book. But it's like literally everybody starts a job and they're like, I want to impress my boss. I want to do well in this position. Like they wouldn't take a job if they didn't want to do that. And the green book, in my opinion, it just is a black and white, like get everybody on the same page that, hey, within the first week, I want you to do these tasks. And by the end of month 1, I want you to have done X, Y, and Z. And by the end of month 2, I expect that you're documenting your processes. And by the end of month 3, you're like fully up and running. And you need to define what that means. So both for you and the other and the employee, one of the biggest things I would say is generally, again, this is just my experience, in that green book or the 30, 60, 90-day goals, the 30-day goals are probably written by you. But one of the 30-day goals could be that by the end of 30 days, the employee and you have established what the 60 and 90-day goals are because they are starting to wrap their head around the process. So I think that's another just great reminder that you don't have to have the entire thing figured out, but you do need to have literally in a month from now, ask yourself if this person can't even, tie their shoes or whatever the silly analogy you want to use is, like that's a clear expectation that I would expect them to be able to perform. Write that down. And then they know, and that you can coach towards them achieving that. And then the longer 60 and 90-day goals, have them come up with it. And you'll be surprised what they can do.
Yeah, and don't let not having that clarity deter you from starting the process. You just need to have that general idea of what you want them to be accomplishing. And like Chris said, have those first 30 days kind of figured out. And then the last thing I would add to that is make sure you do have a bit of a growth plan, even if they're actively participating in creating it. Say, you know, what do you want your hourly pay to be? Okay, how can we get you there? What kind of skills are you wanting to develop in this job? Okay, how can we get you there? And you're kind of outlining that to make sure that they feel that there is growth potential in your business, and your business is going to look a lot more attractive then, compared to maybe another like higher paying virtual position where there's absolutely no growth and no skills being developed.
All right. So we are going to get to this process. So the thing why most of you probably are listening, like, how specifically do I hire?
This is sounding like one of those Facebook videos where they're like, and then we're gonna pop the balloon, but first we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna pop the balloon, and then you watch 20 minutes, and then they never pop the balloon.
we will pop the balloon though. So the last thing, and we just feel like all of this was so important because we have so many opinions, and we probably had this exact conversation with a dozen people in the last month alone. Yeah. We're not like literally we're in a coaching group, and Natalie was like, I want to give my presentation on VAs. And they're like, well, it's not really what the purpose is. But that's literally the thing that we feel like is most valuable for the people that we've come in contact with. Thanks so much for watching. If this was valuable, please like the video. If you're a painter, you should subscribe to the channel. If you want to see the full conversation, I'll link that in the description down below. We had over an hour conversation on this process, and we went deep into our exact hiring process. We have nothing to gain from this. We are just giving away knowledge. We feel like this has helped immensely for us. So I hope you find this valuable, and please share the video if this served you.